We're hearing a lot about data, we're hearing a lot about the telco proposition, we're hearing a lot about consumer experience. Now with the consumer experience, one thing that I don't think we've heard much about, we were chatting off stage a few minutes ago, and I think I'd like you to share your thoughts on this, is the role of creative. We haven't really addressed, we've talked about intrusion, we've talked about data, we've talked about privacy, we've talked about all these things, but surely the experience that we're delivering the consumer of the content, the consumer of the advertising, is driven by the creative experience that they're receiving. So,
yeah. No, absolutely. If I could just quickly introduce
Sure.
Amobi, if that's okay, just in case the audience...
Quickly.
Very short. So Amobi is a mobile advertising company. We specialize in mobile. We have 200 staff in 8 offices around the world, and we're very active in the MEA region. Probably 2 of our biggest customers that are very active here are Nokia, and also Vertu, where we're helping them sell devices in the region. Yeah, absolutely. I think creativity is quite undervalued. Chris did mention it from AppSavvy earlier on, which I thought was quite interesting. I do find that there is a real need for specialist mobile advertising agencies to help brands understand the opportunities that mobile brings. I think that in Europe at least, you see quite a lot of kind of creative startups, which is encouraging. We are kind of living in this world where you have the kind of 4 big groups, the Ogilvies, the Aegis, and so on, that have incorporated mobile within their strategy. But you still need mobile creative agencies to really come up with the solutions that are really going to help campaigns perform. And Amobi are very good at that. We're very strong at that. We have our creative lab within the teams, and we're very keen on putting mobile at the center of campaigns. So not just treat it as an add-on, or not just treat it as a media channel, but more as an omni-channel, where you should think about adding mobile touch points to any press advertising or outdoor advertising that you're doing, which would essentially help the performance of the overall campaign. So there's a message there that I think I always like to talk about, which is don't think of mobile as just a media channel, but think it more at the heart of your communication strategy, and make sure that you're adding mobile touch points to all of the media that you're looking to bring together. So that's a couple of words on creativity.
And what do you think is the kind of the DNA of great mobile creative? What constitutes it?
Yeah, we have a very consultative approach, right? We work with all sorts of customers, from Expedia, who are very focused on purely driving hotel bookings through their mobile applications, from working with Nokia, that are very focused on selling handsets, to working with operators as well. We do a lot of work with Telefonica and O2 that are looking to push products and services. So we have a very consultative approach with our clients, because creativity means different things for different people. Amobi acquired a company called Ajitsu recently, and basically the service that they provide has now been integrated within Amobi. It's our proprietary technology. It's basically 3D advertising, and we're the only company today that really has brought this 3D technology to the market. And this opens up great opportunities for brands like BMW, who are looking to really engage with their audience. Forget direct response for a moment. Direct response is a great channel for mobile, specifically around app downloads. But if you're looking at car companies or travel companies or that are looking to engage with their audiences, then things like rich media and 3D advertising is a great channel to kind of engage with that audience. And again, all of this is obviously through mobile. So.
And in that process, you mentioned a very consultative approach to working with the clients. Is that a challenge when perhaps there is a knowledge gap sometimes within the clients about what the capabilities are, what the outcomes can be, and the roadmap to getting there? How do you be consultative whilst dealing with knowledge gaps?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it varies per client, but you have some clients. I'd like to think that all of our clients really are clients that are really looking to experiment. Test and learn is something that's always been very prevalent with the way we approach business. Expedia, one of our largest customers, I was talking about travel earlier on, or yesterday on another panel, They were a pioneer in online travel. They were the first company to really bring online travel to the market. And they've also, I'd like to think, been a pioneer in mobile. Not only have they really embraced the channel and really are looking to engage with their audiences through mobile in ways that other brands don't do, they've also embraced creativity, and they've embraced things like augmented reality. We're running some really interesting augmented reality campaigns with Expedia. We're also doing more of the 3D advertising I mentioned earlier on. We did a campaign around Valentine's Day where we were inviting audiences to actually engage with the ad unit, and the success of that campaign was based on length of time rather than click-through rates and so on. So yeah, I mean, some brands are more more open to experiment than others, and it is a challenge. And again, it comes back to my initial point where I think you need a specialist. I think mobile is still a specialist area, and although it needs to be included in your marketing mix, I think you need a specialist agency to really help you understand what the opportunities are, what the limitations are within mobile, and then coming up with a creative, a strategy that fits all of that. So it's a challenge. It's not easy, but when it works really, really well.
Great. Okay, I would like to introduce our final member of the MAD board this morning. Fayez Abu Awad is the VP Middle East for another organization that I'm sure you're all very familiar with, and he's going to be talking about AirPush and the unique capabilities and value proposition that they're bringing to clients and advertisers.
Okay, why don't you sit here? I'll sit.
Thank you.
Fayez, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. There we go. Yeah, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on this panel and among such great company. As you know, AirPush is involved in mobile advertising as an advertising network, and we're the second largest Android advertising network. However, we're the world leader in what is known as push advertising. We see this as the next evolution in mobile advertising. Mobile advertising is subject to tech trends, just like any other tech business. And we've seen advertising in mobile skip voice, basically because of prohibitive costs. When the mobile first came, no one was capable of setting up a call center using voice. Then we quickly latched onto SMS, which you touched upon. And then from there, we saw the opportunity to advertise through mobile internet, which was primarily done on the web browser. And then when somebody in Cupertino had the brilliant idea to set up an app store, and it caught fire in Hay, and it grew very quickly, then when there was this opportunity to advertise in applications and all the context implications that carried with it. Now we're at a stage where we can advertise in-app and out-of-app, and this is where AirPush specialty comes in. I would like to discuss with you the impacts for brands of such a concept, if that's okay
Sure.
with you.
I wanted to touch on the out-of-app advertising that I've heard you mention before, and just kind of give that some context and give that some insight.
Thank you very much. Yes, as you know, there's this S-curve for adoptions of technologies, and one technology hands over to the next. And with every technology, it starts weeks with early adopters. The creative aspect is very high, the novelty is very high, and then performance kicks in. And then, for some reason, we saw performance decline. We saw that with SMS when it first started. The response was quite decent, and now it's commonly acceptable to have a 3 in 1,000 response rate from SMS, and we consider that good. Go on the mobile web, it started very strong. I remember back in the days when I was working for Nokia Interactive, we used to see click-through rates, through the roof, 17%, 15%, and it was normal, looking back, it was normal to experience such a thing because it was a new technology and with a novice, unique selling proposal. But that quickly started declining, and now in mobile web we see response declining, getting closer to web. to fixed web response. And then in-app advertising started strong, and now it's declining. And I think now we're in the era of expanding that to actually reach the device. And for brands, I think this is very important. Your audience may be interested in hearing why brands should care about out-of-app advertising. For once in mobile advertising evolution, we are at a stage where we can offer performance and scale. And we can offer it without actually the brand of the context affecting the brand of the advertising message. So for example, if you're advertising on the Times application, and your brand is impacted by the Times brand. If it's a strong brand, it will support you. If it's a brand that is in line with the values of the brand that you offer, then that will add to the message. But quite often, advertisers are left with the feasible option, which is blind network advertising. So you don't know where your message is appearing. And therein lies the clash. If somebody such as yourself, Aaron, and you experienced that probably most poignantly in Saudi Arabia. If you want to say Ramadan is coming and we have Islamic proposals or propositions for the client, we cannot present it in a game that conveys messages that actually contradict the values of the app itself or the social norms of the country. So this led us pretty much outside of the context of blind advertising. But with out-of-app, you're advertising on the device itself. So even if the user himself has an application that may be violent or conveys messages that contradict your a smoking choice maybe application maybe, and you don't want to associate yourself with tobacco, you can actually deliver that message quite efficiently. The message itself appears on the device, and the device is pretty much brand free. It's just it's a delivery channel without any impact on the brand. And moving down the road, as we are able to get insight into which applications are being used by which users, by the users, and what set of applications you've actually chosen to download, you can get that context that you, as a brand, greatly need. So for example, if you are Al Jazeera and you want to target users who have downloaded the time, you will be able to do that very soon. And that's the direction which I see the technology heading. From that perspective, I don't know, gentlemen, maybe you would like to share with us if you've seen any such need. Is it only heightened at the point of the mobile advertising network as a perceived issue in the market? Or do you see brands constantly demanding brand alignment within the mobile space?
I mean, we see a mixture of two. I mean, I think, yeah, blind networks, it's obviously it's an issue, but there are positive things about blind networks. I mean, the great thing about a blind network is that, yes, you don't have assurances on where your ad is going to appear, but there is some policing that's been done, or so they claim, and therefore the cost of media is cheaper. Obviously, when you're buying a click on a blind network versus buying an impression on the Times, the price of media is very different. So again, it depends on the context of the customer. What is the campaign about? If it is brand awareness, then brand association, as you say, is terribly important. But if it's about driving hotel bookings or app downloads, then an ad network like InMobi or Adphonic or companies of this type, they certainly serve a good purpose in the kind of media mix, I would say. But I mean, I think there is an opportunity for brands to really embrace mobile today. I think when you compare eyeballs spent on mobile versus media spend on mobile, there is a massive discrepancy, which you don't see in other media. So when you look at TV or press or out of home, the amount of money brands are spending versus the time people are consuming those media is about the same. Whereas mobile, there is a very big discrepancy. A lot of people are browsing the internet through their mobile device or expecting to find consumer services and products through their mobile device, but they're not today. So if you're a brand in the audience and you haven't yet embraced mobile, then you're missing a trick, if I may be so bold, but also there's an opportunity to buy media at a good price, because it's not as competitive as online. And also the truth is it works. I mean, it really does. Amobi is a mobile specialist agency, and we've been very successful over years not because we do it particularly well, but purely because mobile works. And if you're smart and listen to your clients, then you will find that your campaigns, that it's worth investing in mobile because the conversions are higher than online, and your messages will resonate with your audience. So,
sure. I mean, one thing I've picked up from this morning particularly, and I guess it's an opportunity given the kind of lineup that we have here this morning, is traditional advertising is a fairly straight line in terms of there's an agency, there's a brief, there's a client, there's an advertiser, and there's a consumer. There's perhaps complexity is the wrong word, but there are different stakeholders joining the ecosystem. There's the telco, there are the ad networks, who obviously have a role to play. What that role is, do you guys feel that that's clearly identified? Do you think that right now people are playing the right roles? Is there an opportunity for those roles to be refined a little bit, redefined? What's your take, Aaron? I mean, you're representing telcos, you're creating a telco-specific proposition.
Yeah, I've kind of got two hats on because we're a content provider. We aggregate content and distribute that through the telco, but I oversee the advertising for us. And what we're finding is, like the example that I used before, my friend, kind of the traditional agency, really approaching things in silos and not looking at it from a convergence perspective. And I think that we need to work a little bit more closely together, and maybe some kind of partnerships to go to the agency and say, look at the various distribution channels and touch points and work together and deliver that message consistently and working together at the same way. So if you have out of app, you're looking at also messaging, and maybe location or anything along those lines, working together cohesively to then develop the market together, because this is the fragmentation and the disconnect as we see more and more all the time. And I think it was Chris brought up the example of agencies where they've got a margin and they work solely within their with that hat on, and really it's frustrating for mobile professionals who this is what we do, we eat and breathe it, and we're going in and so we've got this brilliant idea and say you should really be spending, look at all the eyeballs, and this discrepancy is international, so it's really frustrating. So I think it's a kind of a collaboration between various media owners or media reps within mobile space, either technology or media, and really working together to drive that message home to the agencies, because it can be overly frustrating, not gonna lie. So yeah, convergence is the key. Yeah.
And Ben, what's your view on the telco's role? Is it as simple as they have the data, they have the customer relationship, and they have the connectivity, or can they bring more to the table than that?
Well, I think the market is very fragmented, and I think it's still a kind of a startup mentality where there's a lot of smart young companies. So the market is naturally fragmented, but I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I think that makes working in mobile exciting because there's lots of opportunities. I think any agency that looks to be successful in mobile needs to have partnerships in place at this time, because we're not experts at everything, and because it's so fragmented, you need to know who to work with to facilitate executing good mobile campaigns. With regards to the role of the operator, to answer your question, I think they have a very key role in the advertising ecosystem. The question of data, who owns the data, and the importance of data is crucial. As soon as you add an element of data to your advertising campaigns, the performance will increase massively. And the truth is, in my opinion, the operator today, not just the operator, but the operator, in a lot of instances, the operator controls a lot of that data, or owns that data. So we at Amobi, work very closely with Telefonica and Singtel and Vodafone to help them monetize this data that they sit on, and really help, if you like, grow the mobile advertising ecosystem by enabling the sharing of this data, obviously within rules and regulations, to help marketeers and help consumers really access the sort of messaging and marketing information they want. So the operator has a crucial role. It's not just operators, companies like social companies like Facebook and Twitter and others, they are all own a lot of data about you and I, and they're looking to leverage that data and help us as marketeers, promote a brand, our clients' messages. So, I hope that kind of gives some
We
insight.
also seem to have heard a lot this morning around, a lot, maybe an exaggeration, but several notes on dissatisfaction or the need to change in the big four agencies, in the big four media groups. What are those changes, and what impact would that have, and what value would that bring to the ecosystem and ultimately to the consumer? I'll open that up to everyone.
I would just say having somebody, kind of a mobile evangelist, really pushing mobile internally, which was kind of, see with Mindshare, about maybe 6 years ago, they got the exchange, and they finally, media agencies started sitting traditional with digital and television, and kind of they were actually sitting in the same area where they could speak to one another. I mean, it seems obvious, but unfortunately it took a while to get to that point. And now you're seeing more and more with the big media agencies that they're actually having a dedicated team to mobile. So I think you need that, and somebody needs to know the market in and out, and then go in and really push mobile as a medium internally to say, hey, we need to be thinking about this. And having either a team or somebody who evangelizes internally and knows all the key stakeholders.
Fires?
I think that the problem is not really as simple as the media companies, the agencies just deciding to pick up resources. To begin with, we all agree that the audience is mobile. The users are already there. And the agencies are very smart. Their management is exceptionally smart. They've managed to survive and evolve and change with the times. But I think what is holding them back is mainly that there aren't enough resources that are available, that are trained and capable, experienced in mobile. And this is a pain that I would like to see eased by all the stakeholders. There has to be some sort of a training program where maybe we can also all cooperate, have some sort of internships to actually exchange expertise and information with the agencies, because it's not easy, especially taking into context the entrepreneurial environment that you refer to. That entrepreneurial environment means that the bright minds that are kindled spirits of entrepreneurship will be more inclined to go down the innovation side rather than the agency side, and that leaves the agency with a very small pool of applicants. I doubt that there is a lack of will to actually correct the situation, but that is certainly an aspect of the problem, and it's a real pain. And I think the full opportunity of mobile has been held back because of the small budgets. And if we tie it back to the blind networks are cheaper, and people are opting for the cheaper option because basically I'm only getting 1% of the budget or 2%. What can I do with 1% or 2%? So I try to spread it and hedge my risk. But if we actually go and get the 20 or 25%, which I see mobile deserving rightly, then I think we will actually experience the full bloom that we all look forward to.
Great. I'm going to ask the audience. I've got a couple of questions, but I'd like to open it up if we have any questions from the audience before I carry on. Okay, I'd like to wrap up with just two points, just to give some context and some takeaways for all of us. Firstly, just in 30 seconds, everything that we've talked about has a very global context. It's it's about the ecosystem, it's about the industry at large. What kind of local context would you add to this conversation? What is what are the next steps here? What are the differences, and what do you think people here should be really focusing on to build the industry here and again to deliver value to advertisers?
Okay, let me start. I think so. I have a meeting tomorrow with one of our customers, Nokia, as I say, who are very active within the space and have been very good at embracing mobile. The work that we do for them is very performance orientated, about marketing their devices. So to answer your question, I think that currently what I'm seeing out of the MEA region is a lot of performance type work, which is very ROI driven, which I think is great and excellent. I'd like to see more, coming back to creativity, I suppose, more creativity. I'd like to see brands here engage more with things like 3D advertising, rich media, location-based advertising, augmented reality. These are technologies that are now available for you to embrace, and hopefully, an agency like Amobi can facilitate that for you. So I think I'd like to see more creativity come out of the region. There are lots of talented companies around, and I think that's the next evolutionary step. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Aaron?
My would be more on the telco. That like to see them work together more. Unfortunately, telcos are by nature very competitive, and it's work in progress. We're trying to get them to come together to work. And one is you'll actually have a pool of opt-in users that we can then monetize, like they have in the UK, for example. I'd like to see a little bit more transparency with some of the providers themselves from our side, like with data. I think that's very key, and really pushing, adding value. And I think that's one thing that's key, is making sure that you're getting that right message to the right user and really adding value. So those two things, building data and then making sure that you've got it right, like you mentioned about creativity. So yeah, those are kind of two key points.
Great, thank you. Fires.
Thank you. Okay, I used to call myself for the longest time, I think for about 4 years, I was the mobile advertising guy in MEA on LinkedIn. So local is what I do, and I can tell you, locally, we outperform other regions, flat out. In response, in return on investment, we do. We have a huge market. Saudi Arabia, for example, is, it ranks way up there on the top 3 markets, globally. It is a market that has been able to generate a lot of good return on investment for people outside of the region, and it's high time people inside of the region get in on the return on investment game. I think, as with everything in advertising, we have strategic and we have tactical. Strategic is the path of the creative, and that is it's a path that is clear and can be ready to be well trodden by industry leaders, whether on the agency side, from the operator side, or on the agency side, for the creative side. But there is also the tactical, which is driving a footfall to stores, driving subscribers, driving downloads of content, and with that, in the Middle East, we are industry leaders globally. Okay. If you are not convinced, all it takes for you to experience it is a test. You can test and experience it for yourself, and I'm sure you'll be back. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so just to wrap up before we say goodbye to these guys and go and break for lunch, I'm just going to pose a similar question that I posed to Chris and to Sandy this morning. Guys, what do you think is the biggest change that needs to happen, and who needs to make it?
Sorry, say it again, I'm sorry?
What's the biggest change that needs to happen for us to get the growth that we think is possible, to reach the potential, and who needs to make it?
You put me on the spot here. I would say collaboration, probably. I think we need to work together, and I think collaboration is really what will drive the. But I've been very encouraged by what I've seen here. I think you're right. I think the region is. I think we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves. I think it's amazing how mobile has grown over such a short period of time. Yeah. Exactly, this conference is testimony to it. Yeah. So I think I'm delighted with what I've seen. I travel quite a lot, and I agree. I think that the industry here is buoyant, and there's so much opportunity, and that's why we're here.
Sure.
So, but I think collaboration. I'm a big believer in consultative approach and working together with partners to create solutions for brands, and I think that's what Amobi's about, and I think that's what we're hearing on the panel today.
I'll have a shameless plug as well. I agree. I got the numbers from yesterday, and it's twice as many people attended yesterday as last year, which shows that the knowledge gap isn't necessarily going away, but the interest in solving it is heightened and more prevalent than ever. So Aaron, what would you think?
Say the same thing on collaboration, dealing with agencies and dealing and seeing how that they're planning and delivering mobile for their clients. Is we really do need to come together and approach it in a two-pronged approach and say, right, here we are, this is our strategic partnership. We can deliver the message to the brand through these various inventories simultaneously at various touch points throughout the day. That's very important to consistency for the brand message. And also, we need to ensure personalization. So I think we need to be able to get, and I think that's where kind of the telco does have the strength. So I'd like to see more growth in the telco space as well. So yeah.
Great. Final word from Faiz.
Okay. We have a saying in Arabic. It says, "أعطي الخبز لخبازه ولو أكل نصه." So give the bread
Absolutely,
to the
yeah.
baker. Give the bread to the baker, even if he eats half of it. Okay. So let the baking be done by the baker. I think there is a dangerous trend here, which is the integration path, which people seem to be inclined to fall in. So I want to do everything. I want to be the agency. I want to be the ones that provide creative, the ones that provide development. I want to be the media buyer. I want to be I want to be A to Z. And I think it's most dangerous at operator level. Okay, operators have a very strong position financially, and they have access to a lot of information. But I think, having been through the Nokia turnaround, when we back at Nokia decided to say, we want to become an internet business, we shrugged as employees in Nokia. So how is this a huge freight train going to make a right turn at the next exit? And it takes a lot to move into media, and media is a much faster business, especially on the billing side when it comes to mobile advertising. And there is no way we can sustain business if we do not reduce the billing cycles from the 90, 120 days we can easily fall into especially in the Arab part of the world. So we need to be more efficient. I think that's the one change that I think is most needed. Thank you, Matt.
Great. Well, let's give our panel a round of applause, and then we'll break for some lunch.